Sala Falava and welcome to the Reads with Rosa podcast. This is our final installment of a special podcast series that we've been running throughout the month of May, celebrating Pasifika women and honoring the work they are doing in their respective communities. Today's guest is Samoan and Welsh. She is a writer, a poet, a journalist, an artist, and kayako. She is also the founder and director of Tagataatamai and Moana Creative Business Network. It is my honor to welcome to the show Danielle Thomson. Woohoo! Welcome, sis. How are you? How are you doing?
I am so honored to even be on the podcast. And I think what you were saying before about giving me my flowers, I think I just feel a little bit chuffed that you want to do that. So thank you for having me.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've been watching what you've been doing for quite a while. I think we've been following each other. Yeah, following each other for quite a while. And I always talk about this wish list that I have of people, and I'm just like, have to build up the courage to reach out to each person because people can be active like on social media, but sometimes like sharing stories, it's it's not. Some people have, they've said no. So I honestly didn't know if you were going to be like, sure, or sorry, that's not my, I was just going to, if it was a no, I would have been like, cool, we're good. But yeah, so I'm really excited to have you here today. Just to share the work, this important, what I call advocacy work that you've been doing, building community. So I want to share that. I want to share that with followers, listeners. So there is something else happening in Aotearoa New Zealand this week. So I just want to speak to that real quick. And then we will get going. O le vai asole nei I Aotearoa New Zealand, o lo whaatau i nei tato ngana Samoa. Ma o le autua nei tausanga I whaapea, tautua I le alofa, manuia le lumanai. Tautua I le alofa, manuia le lumanai. O lea atu ina atu le avanoa le tato maalo whaaloalongia, le tama'ita'i a Danielle, po le awhionga fo I le whaatonu o le Moana Creative Business Network. E whai atu ai sino o tō tonga pu'u. O na amatai lea o le podcast, ma lo whaaloa lava. This week in Aotearoa New Zealand is Samoan Language Week, and the theme is Serve and Love for a Blessed Future. Serve and love for a blessed future. So at this time, I would like to give our special guest, Danielle, the director of Moana Creative Business Network, the opportunity to do a brief introduction, and then we can begin our podcast or our talanoa. Please go ahead.
O le tina o la utama o a whionga tui maleali I whano le telemalano wola I Melda Taito Tusa Thomson na soifua mai I le nuu o Manase Savai o ona nuu o Falealili ma matamata no nofo I Faleletai o ona mātua o Tusa Whanoti ma Kionasina Liu tui maleali I whano Taito Tusa o la utina o Bronwyn Dillis Ward, o Lo'o Tama o Russell Paul Thompson, o Lo'o Ingoa o Danielle Kionasina Dillis Thomson. Kia ora. I'm just super grateful to be here, and I guess other important parts of my introduction would be that my Nana's the motivation for everything I do, and she is where I guess this staunch sense of who I am comes from. So always, even in a digital space, I bring her into every room. So yeah, thanks for having me.
Thanks for that, Danielle. So we could start in many places. I have to say again, poet, journalist, artist, primary school teacher, director, reader, of course. Yes. I've seen your online bookstore. We will talk about that. Yes. You do some blogging. Well, not some blogging. You do blogging. And then with all of that, those different hats that you wear, we are here. So how did you, as a teacher, we go-getters, like how did you start thinking, like at what point did you start thinking about like starting your own business, building community through tagataatamai? How did you get to that point from being a teacher?
I think, as you know, when you're a primary teacher, there's so many other forces and systems that influence the way that you have to teach. And I think as well, particularly in the New Zealand context, I would say that, you know, it's an exhausting role, one that I took on with so much respect for the role. But I think that I started looking for ways that I could still teach and I could still nurture ngangana Samoa, anganu'u Samoa, all of those things, but maybe with a bit more freedom and maybe in a way that could fill my cup more, because I was finding that in teaching I was quite depleted, and that also maybe my vision for culturally responsive practice was there were limitations on that, right? So in a mainstream education system. So yeah, I think that initially I was looking for how could I nurture my own creative practice while also supporting others as they either begin that journey, continue developing their creative writing skills, and then, yeah, I guess a space that would be particularly nourishing for people's cultural identities. And I know that for myself, my creative practice a lot of the time felt like something that I did alone. And so I wanted to, you know, bring people together so that we could make things and write things and hopefully afi each other along that process. So yeah, I would say the initial maybe spark for it was something that I needed that I knew other people probably also needed. So it was just maybe having the courage initially to be the facilitator of that without actually having all of the knowledge, all of the resources. I just thought, you know, if not me, then who? Let's give it a go. And here we are.
And how difficult was it to walk away? Like, because even hearing you speak on this, I just know you were just that passionate educator. You know,
Yeah.
that I mean, how difficult was it to actually go, I'm going to do this? Like, I've had these plans in my head, I've thought about it. There's got to be other ways I can serve my community. But to make the actual call, man.
I think that I wrestled with it a lot. And I mean, my partner would have heard me speak on it for probably months at a time. And yeah, it was really difficult because I think, I mean, as you know, your relationships with your kids are just so, I cherish them and I miss them to like, I truly do miss all of the students who were in my class. And I guess I felt this huge responsibility and like I was letting people down. And I really didn't like that feeling. But then again, once I got closer and closer to being sure that I needed to make a move, it was definitely about needing to pour back into myself, and in order to have the capacity to continue to serve my community. I thought, you know, in order to do any role justice, your whole heart needs to be in it. And I think that the more I felt ready to take the leap to do this other thing that I'd been thinking of for so long, the less I felt that my place was full-time in the classroom. So yeah, it was not an easy decision. And I think that especially because teaching tends to be a role that we identify with like really strongly, that's part of who you are. But then again, I realized that I could still be a teacher, but just in a different way, and in a way that was going to be more sustainable for me as well.
Absolutely. And I love that you said that because I'm just thinking of the skills, the knowledge, the learnings that you've taken from being in the classroom to a different type of classroom, a different setting, but still like in the capacity of mentoring, leadership. It's just using those same skills to inspire in a different, in a different setting and community. Still always a teacher, but just in different forms, right? So I love that. Tama'ita'i Samoa, you are Samoan and Welsh. Tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up, being Samoan, being Welsh. You did mention the impact that your nana had on you. So how were you grappling with or struggling with identity, or did the two mesh quite well? You had a fine balance of both growing up.
Um, that's a tricky question. I think that I will probably always wrestle with walking in two worlds, but I think maybe the way that I frame it these days is different. I think that definitely when I was younger, I felt quite torn, and the contrast, say, between being with my nana and my dad, because we would all live together, being with them to being with my mum and my brother, like it was so starkly contrasting, that I think that was, maybe I didn't feel as confident to be open about walking in two worlds. And I probably code switch. Like I would say that not to say that I don't do that now, out of necessity, or even, to be honest, sometimes I see it as a bit of a skill. But I think before I felt like I had to be 100% one way in this setting and 100% another way in a different setting. Whereas now I think that, I just bring all of it with me everywhere I go. And I think that, there's so much strength in both cultures and in both places that I come from. So I think that I framed it differently now, rather than being this challenge or this thing that maybe causes tension, which it still can. I now see it as something that is truly a superpower. And I don't feel less of either thing. Whereas I think that a lot of us go through that, right, of going, oh man, like I'm not enough of this, and I'm not enough of this, so do I belong anywhere? And I think that really the answer is that we belong in many places, and that and also we, as maybe people who are afakasi, if that is, I mean, I know that is also a touchy word, something that I used to maybe feel negative emotions about, again. But for a lot of us, I think it's not a comfortable way to be always. But I think that if the environment supports you to own all of your strengths, own where you come from, then it just can be the most beautiful thing ever. But I think that it was the leadership and the role modeling from my nana. Otherwise, again, I don't think I would have the confidence to stand here and say I am Samoan, despite other people questioning that still at every turn.
I love that. When we think about values that drive you in terms of the things that you do on a daily, what are some of those values that your nana or your elders have instilled in you so that you can do what you do on the daily?
I think the one that comes through for so many of us in the diaspora is tautua, and I think we talk about it a lot. But it's just such a grounding thing to know that you're connected to your wider community, to know that you have a role to play, and to care deeply about how you affect other people. So tautua comes through really strongly for me, not because I feel like it's an obligation, but because I feel like it's a privilege to have that responsibility. And also, I think that it allows me to grow into the best version of myself. I think if you have, positive expectations and this belief that you are capable of doing, more than you could have dreamed of, I think that again is a major strength. And then alofa, I think that, love also drives that tautua as well, drives everything that I do. And ainga, that is really important to me, but then also that, I mean, it pushes out further than that to my nu'u, which could be West Auckland, it could be Samoa, it could be, it's, and also, I mean, we have Samoan family all over the world. So, I mean, look at where you are. So, I think of my nu'u as people like you, who you're in the waka with me. We're doing the mahi alongside each other, even from a distance, but also all the way as close as my dad. Or so those would be the values I think that drive everything that I do.
So I want to talk about tagataatamai. Like, what is the origin story? Because you can be planning and thinking about these things that you want to do, but the actual, like, okay, you know what? Now I'm going to do it. Like, I actually need to get it going. So I've seen it growing and growing, and I'm like, man, I need to know what is the origin story. behind it?
Yeah, so like I said earlier, it was definitely me looking for a creative outlet, but then a way to be creative within a community, especially people who were from my Pasifika and Māori community. I think that we need more safe spaces to explore our identities while also building all of these skills. And I think that, I mean, our cultures have amazing sort of teaching and learning traditions. And I think I wanted a space where I could honor those. So yeah, but I think the first thing that I did once, I mean, the name literally just came. I don't know, I'd been thinking about it for so long. And then I was like, I know what it is. And I think it's about how I want through all of the creative writing workshops, through platforming people's puka puka and their artwork, through the blog, I realized all of it came back to me just wanting to shine a light on how amazing, brilliant, beautiful I think our people are. I know that we are. And I think that highlighting all of those diverse definitions of success and diverse identities, diverse knowledge systems, I think that is where the journey started. So tagataatamai translates to intelligent or brilliant person, and the reason why I guess I wanted it to be about, rather than the more common word for smart, which is poto, I wanted it to be Atamai, because I'm not just talking about one way of being intelligent. I'm not just talking about how good are you at maths and how amazing are your grades in English. I'm talking about those ancestral gifts, that internal knowing that I think that we carry with us, even if we haven't discovered it yet in ourselves. So yeah, and so tagataatamai is about your unique gifts that you bring. And then I think the first thing I did once I sort of hit the nail on the head with the name and felt ready to begin, and I wasn't really quite sure where it would lead. I just knew what the guiding principles or what the drive for it was. So then I started writing the blog and started building a social media platform, which really just was and is all about celebrating us, for us, by us. And then from there, I thought, I want to meet all of these amazing people, like in person, rather, not just the people that I interview, but, all the people who I know who are reading the blog, or who have so much to learn from and offer each other. I wanted to get us in a room together beyond the metaverse. And then we had our first creative writing workshop at Samoa House Library, which is within Maota, Samoa, on Karangahapia Road in Aotearoa. And that was, it was just everything that I hoped it would be. It was so nourishing and safe. And again, beyond all of the writing skills, beyond the artistic practice, it made me so happy to see people connecting with each other, exploring who they are, and holding each other. I think taking up space is a really difficult thing to do, especially, I mean, the journey is ongoing, it will never end, but especially when you're maybe in that place where you're still unsure of where you fit, or you haven't quite said out loud, I am Samoan, or I am a writer, I am an artist. So so then we had the writing workshops, and from there I realized, again, with all of this privilege and platform, and the skills that I'm developing, it just made sense to then start platforming people's written work and just have the store on there. And I think as well, when I would have these writing workshops or writing my own poetry, I would get lots of questions about, what are you reading, or what would you suggest that I look into? And then I was like, you know what, let's just make like a reading list, or like, not dissimilar, I guess, from what you do with your puka puka. But the collection is exclusively Pasifika and Māori poetry at the moment. So that is I think that's a summary of where it started, how it's going. Who knows what it's going to morph into in another year, but I'm humbled by what has happened and how people really got behind the kaupapa and behind me, because I think that was a real maybe fear that I had, was that, who am I to be doing this? But the fact that people have allowed me to facilitate, allowed me to lead is, I couldn't be more grateful for that.
If you are watching, if you are listening on the podcast platforms, click the link in the bio, click the links in the bio. You can check out Danielle's website. You're going to see the blog. You're going to see her online bookstore, which I want to talk about in a bit. Yes, as mentioned, she does write. She does facilitate creative workshops. She does independent journalism, the blogging. She is promoting the success, the well-being, just the amazing work that so many different Maori and Pasifika creatives are doing out there. And a lot of these people are not getting the flowers that they deserve. And I honestly, Danielle, I love what you're doing, because it is, featuring people that even I didn't know about. So I'm like, hey, this is cool. I honestly didn't know that this person was doing this. Okay, cool. Follow them. But it's such a cool thing that you're doing. Like, yeah, I think we need to uplift our people and stories more. And yeah, I love to see it. I love to hear it. I want to talk about your online bookstore while I have this chance. So tell us about the selection of books that you and like you said, where this is going in 1 year's time, who knows? But I love what you're building, and that's what it's about. Everyone has to start somewhere. So tell us about your online bookstore and what goals do you have for that?
So at the moment, I would say that we stock books and authors who I personally just admire and think are amazing people. And I think that they have, if you're someone who is maybe looking to develop your writing, or you're interested in finding stories that you connect with, I think that was a big driving force of it, is almost creating like a database, or same as the blog, like making our people, our community, our stories easier to find. Because I think when I was, say, in high school, and I've always been, I guess, secretly writing in my room, or all of those sorts of things, when I was looking for writers who were like me, or had similar values to me, that weren't this maybe Eurocentric, individualistic, person to look up to, I've kind of found them quite hard to find. And then I found Lana Lopesi, I think, in a Metro magazine, and I was like, oh my gosh, like I want to be her one day. And I guess I just wanted to make it a little bit easier for other people who are emerging writers, or people who are even just fans of our writing. I wanted to give them the opportunity to have a more central place, or someone who maybe has already gone looking and found some amazing things. And especially as well, if they've read about some of these authors on the blog or something, and they're like, well, where's their book? How can I find their book? I just want them to be right there, as influencers and as references, I would say. Yeah. So that's what they are at the moment. And then I would say what I want the bookstore to grow into is hopefully to become about books and art, as well, as someone who, again, is just a huge fan of Pacific and Māori artists. And I think that, the work that they do is amazing. So again, just having another platform where you can find them, it would be amazing. And also to hopefully soon have my own puka puka, and then a collection as well of all of the writers who come to the workshops. I would just love for them to see their words in print. So that's the long-term goal. But for right now, it's a collection of people who I look up to, and who I think that my audience would benefit from discovering.
And so if so people can go to your website, they can purchase the books off your bookstore. Is that how it works?
Yeah.
Okay. If you're listening, that's what you do. Check out.
Yeah,
Check out. You know what? I can even tell you the website now. Tagataatamai. Wait, let me just double check this in case I'm making this up. Don't want to be that guy giving out false information. Tagataatamai.co.nz. I mean, you cannot go wrong. Honestly, check out what Danielle is doing. It's a pretty cool website. Actually, I'm one of those people, just real quick. I get really overwhelmed by websites that are cluttered and there's lots going on. I really like your website. Just saying. It was not, I was like, yo, okay, this is different. I like this. Sorry, go ahead, Danielle. You were saying?
No, thank you. I think I've had to learn so many skills that I just on the fly. Like I think I sent the website link to my mum or something, and she was like, "Did you make this?" And I was like, "I don't have staff, mum. Who else is making this?" But yeah, no, I think it's actually been a lot of fun. Like, I mean, aside from it being maybe a lot to juggle sometimes, I really enjoy, even as a creative outlet, trying to, create a brand and what color do I want things to be, and what would I find, I don't know, easy to navigate, like you say, like on the website. And yeah, again, that teacher brain still comes in really handy for all of those things.
Let's talk about your writing journey. I actually had this listed later for the podcast, but since you kind of snuck it in there, I was like, I got you. I heard that. Don't be sneaky. I did catch that. Let's talk about your journey in writing. What does that look like? I mean, I heard you just sneak in that hopefully you'll have a puka puka coming out soon.
Yes.
Do we want to drop any big news? I'm just kidding. But what has your journey in writing been? How? Yeah, I didn't even know where to start. Like you take us. You lead. Where does it start for you? The writing journey.
I think again, like calling myself a writer has truly only come in the last year, maybe. But before that, I think, my earliest memories, or, the artifacts dating back to, 2003, like, so I think that my first piece of writing would have been like writing in my diary. I was just an avid reader, an avid writer, definitely the kid who wanted to, just be alone with words a lot of the time. I'm still really extroverted and love people, but I think I found, everything around me is so stimulating, and I'm someone who really likes to record those things, or I don't know, I find everyday experiences quite inspiring, and then I think how I process is by writing those things or speaking those things. So yeah, so I've always been someone who has a million journals, and my ideal birthday present was a book, like, that sort of thing. But then I think maybe through high school, I probably started getting a little bit braver about sharing some things. I was a singer and a dancer and a creative in lots of other ways. And so I think, again, like writing or being able to maybe formulate your thoughts and feelings that way was something that complemented everything else creatively that I was into. And then I think it was just this constant companion of me processing life, like when things are good, bad, ugly, always I just wanted to have a pen and a piece of paper to write it down, whether that was to make sense of things or to document things so that I could revisit them later in life. So I think it's something that has developed over my entire life, but only in the last year, I guess, I decided that, if you are doing that, you are that, and you need to stop saying, "Oh, I'm not really a writer," but you need to, again, dare to take up space. Say exactly who you are and what it is that you do. And it doesn't mean that I know everything about writing, and it doesn't mean that I think that I'm the best writer in the world, or you know what I mean. This is something that will continue to grow with me forever. But I think that being willing to have an audience as you learn is a really powerful thing. Not just, sorry, that was the cat. Not
That's
just
okay.
not just for myself, but for other people. You know, I just think about, you know, teenage me seeing Lana Lopez's name in a magazine, and I'm just like, I just want those moments to happen more and more and more for other Samoan tama'ita'i, but you know, especially little Samoan girls who are wanting to find a creative home. And I think often you find that in other people first. So yeah, so and in terms of me putting out my own puka puka there for the last year, I've, you know, done, I would, a significant amount of work in the poetry space, and I'm feeling ready to hold something that kind of shows that journey. And I think I've had a lot of, again, it's responding to my community as well, of, you know, people saying like, I really want to sit with your work for a day, or I really want to turn pages and like, you know, and see all of your poetry in one place. And I was like, well, okay, like if you want to do, if we want to do that, then let's do that, no matter how scary that is. Because again, some of those poems that would likely be in the book, you know, you go, that was like, that's really old, and does that even represent me now, or how much have I learned in that time? But again, I think I got some really good advice from a friend who said that when something is published, that doesn't have to be the end of its life, and it doesn't, you're not static. So even if you look back in 2 years and think, oh, that's so cute, like, you know, she was trying, or like, or even if you think, wow, like I've come so far. Even I read my first blog post and I'm going, holy, like the growth is huge. But I think again, it is so important for other people, and especially young people, to see that you can grow and still be doing that thing, and people still valuing what you're doing at every stage. So yes, that is the plan.
Yes. Okay. Yes. Manifest. Do it. Seriously. Do it. I love it. Who are some poets or some writers that inspire you, that you read so that you can get into that headspace, you know, that writing space?
Is this where I do my book recommendations?
I mean, if you want to do your book recommendations now, sis, I am not stopping you. We don't have to do it at the end, but by all means, if this is the time that you want to do it, you can.
Okay. So I think in terms of finding another young wahine who is really standing in her power, does not censor herself, well, as far as I can tell, and also is, I would say, an image of embracing all that you are, whether that's your sexuality, your identity, all of those things. It's definitely Ta'i Tibble. I think I was
right, yes,
blown away by her. I found her book, I think, in Crushes on Karangahape Road, like a long time ago now, which is like an op shop, but they also have lots of beautiful homewares, and it's all New Zealand made and ethically made. Little shout out to Crushes, that was unintentional. But yeah, so I found her book, which is, she's sort of transliterated Pocahontas into Pokahangatus. I think that's how you say it. Anyway, but this one. So this book definitely inspired me and made me realize that I didn't have to be this one version of a woman. And I think when we think about respectability politics, especially in the Pacific community, I was really fearful actually of speaking my truth and saying what I meant, you know, and meaning what I said, and all of those things. So I think that reading her made me go, oh, you know what, I actually can be exactly who I am on these pages, and it may not resonate with everyone, and that's okay. And some people might even be horrified that a young woman or an ex-teacher is going to talk about you know, sex or whatever it is. But it is part of all of the colors of our experience. And I think that she is unapologetic about that. So Ta'i Tibble, 100%. And Talia by Isla Huia. Shout out to her as well. This book has done so well. And for a debut collection, again, like the standard is just like here, and I was at Talia's book launch, and again, this is probably a year ago now, maybe. Hang on, sorry, my cat is Locket. I'm right, just trying to let him out. Hang on, he's not usually allowed in this like studio space, so I think he's like super hyped. Hang on a second. Locket, you can go outside. Anyway, so I heard Talia read some of her poetry at her book launch, and I was just like, I was in tears, and then I was like really thoughtful, and then even aspects of it are kind of funny as well. I don't know. So I think that Talia is amazing. And I think as well, as an example of writing for healing and for writing for making sense of your world, I think she's really important. And then, of course, Lana Lopesi, Bloody Woman. I don't need to say why that's amazing. And then right now, I'm reading How to Loiter in a Turf War. Solid. And all of these books are so beautiful, like physically as well. I'm just like, look at this, the artwork. Like, it's just, Anyway, so I'm such a huge fan of I would say what comes through is Wahine writers and obviously Pacific and Māori writers. That was he's just yeeted himself out the window. Anyway, that's good.
I look at man. Yeah, that's awesome, mate. I'm excited. I will be on the lookout for when you drop a puka puka. I actually, just real quick though, I wanted to ask about that because in terms of publishing, like these are things that you've probably already been thinking about, like self-publishing or getting an agent. Where are you at, or is that something you're still thinking about?
I think that, I've looked into different publishers, and I think, whether this is on or off the record, I think that sometimes as Pacific writers, whether it's for making your work marketable or I don't know, sometimes I think we get a little bit pigeonholed. And this hasn't always been my experience at all. Like, there's some amazing people out there, like Faith Wilson from Salfo'i Press. Like there's just beautiful people doing beautiful things in the publishing space, and I'm really grateful that there are more platforms who are, again, highlighting that work and helping us find those people, those allies, I suppose, in this as we navigate the publishing space, as we navigate our own writing. But I think that sometimes we're asked to fit a Pacific theme, and I'm like, what is that? Like, I think that again, as such multifaceted and complex individuals, I think when we can't be reduced to one corner of the literary space of like, like if you write about dancing and singing and hibiscus and you fit what is a recognizable depiction of Pacific, then that's more marketable, like I said. So I think sometimes that happens, and so I think why I probably will, and why a lot of people, say Ataria as well from Awa Wahine, lean into self-publishing or becoming your own publishing house or whatever it is because it offers this opportunity to tell your story most authentically. And that doesn't mean without critique or without editing or without making sure it's the best offering for your audience that it can be. I think it's just about being able to be, again, all of those things that you are at once, and not feeling like you are being pigeonholed into one version of that, or a version that other people will easily recognize or easily understand, because I think it just erases so much of what your experience actually is, and who you are. Like, I just even like the idea of having to choose right? Like, it's like, yeah, 100% I'm Samoan, but I am also Welsh, and I also did grow up in Aotearoa, New Zealand, and so I'm a member of the diaspora. And so what my identity, or what my poetry, as it sort of walks out my experiences, what that looks like is going to be unique to me. So yeah, so at this stage I'm hoping to self-publish, especially with the goal of publishing all of the amazing writers that are within the tagataatamai community as well. So I mean, again, it's going to be another crash course in something that I've never done before, but we'll work it out.
There are lots of online spaces that can help you with that as well. So
yeah,
love to hear about it. It's awesome. Let's talk about Moana, a creative business network. So you started with tagataatamai, and then tell us about how this came together. I mean, you've kind of alluded to it already, but what was the initial kind of like, okay, now it's time to build this other platform? I mean, it's all interconnected, by the way. So
it definitely is. And I think that it came quite organically, again, like as a response to the community, and as a response to what I feel, again, I need, and the people who are following me, or the people who are supporting me need. And I think that there's one part of my journey that is definitely about writing and storytelling through that medium, which is, and again, in terms of the creative writing workshops, the bookstore, the blog, like that's very much Tagata-atamai's mission. But then I realized, there are so many people who are maybe doing something along a similar vein, whether it's creative, or, they're starting their own business. And I thought, there are existing spaces that do this, but something specifically for us, that where we could actually just connect and we could support each other, we're stronger together, right? Like, and again, where a lot of us are just working it out as we go, and maybe there are questions that we want to ask other people who are doing it too, or even we just want a safe space to vent about the challenges of doing something like this. So yeah, so started Moana Creative Business Network also as a place to shout out more of the people who I admire, and who are, whether they're artists or, again, business owners. So we started with the shout outs, and I guess, lots of little affirmations or things to just like help you along. And then we met in person at APRA AMCOS. What's the month? Yes, this month, the beginning of this month. And it was just, again, it was everything that I hoped it would be. It was so heartwarming to just have, and I mean, of all ages, of all different disciplines, like just to have people come together, and there was so much that we shared. Again, whether that was challenges or triumphs, it was just beautiful to be able to talk openly about things. And I guess as well, like, organic collaborations is what I also thought might come of this, right? Is that someone who goes, oh, I didn't know that you did that, like, can let's have a chat. And then it goes beyond the initial provocation, which might have been more on a creative business network. But that's exactly what I hoped, is that I'm like, great, so now those two are friends, and now they're catching up, and now they're doing a collab, and so I think it was definitely about us coming together to share our struggles, but also our strengths. And that it went maybe a little bit out, or not outside of, but beyond the writing realm that I was kind of in. Because there's people, for example, people who were there were like designers, or maybe they have non-government organizations that are to do with Pacific well-being, or all those sorts of things. And I think what is really nice as well is to have people who often share the same values as you, so they tend to not have, it doesn't attract people who are exploitative, or profit over everything, or even like competitive in an icky way with each other. It attracts people who are there also for all those things that we talked about at the beginning, alofa, tautua, ainga. So really is to be it's there to be a comfort, but then also hopefully a platform.
So, I mean, congrats again on your inaugural event that happened on the first week of May. What has, like, does that get you super hyped for maybe organizing another one? Like, I imagine putting it together was not easy. A lot of work went into that, but now that it's done, it's like, yes, now, yeah.
Yeah, I think it makes me feel like the ball is well and truly rolling. And it made me, just want to see them all again soon. And I think the initial one was definitely about us getting to know each other and talking about the kaupapa and how we wanted the space to grow and what we wanted it to look like. Because again, I don't ever want anything I do to be just about my voice or what I think or how I believe it should go. It's very much again, like I might instigate something or I might facilitate a conversation, but what comes of that is very much about everyone feeling heard and it actually meeting the needs of the people who I'm hoping to serve rather than centering my own, I suppose. And so the next one will be definitely more about knowledge sharing. So having people talk about what they do, maybe bring examples of what they do, and having, we could do a workshop around, for example, Te Vai or social media marketing and how does that work, and so all things that are going to help us in our respective areas to build our kaupapa. But so no, I'm so excited. And at this stage, the next one should be in July, and I will be collaborating with Four Shells Carver Lounge in order to deliver that event. So
Nice. Okay. Yep. Check the bio for links to connect with Danielle. Get connected to her social media platforms. Keep up to date with the projects, workshops coming up for young people and for those in the business spaces, so creative spaces. I had a question because I was thinking about how much time you put into building tagataatamai, fostering connections with community creators, writers, doing the whole networking thing, because clearly a lot of work goes into it.
Yes.
Number one, courses and workshops. Like, do you take courses and workshops that help you in the spaces that you're building so that you can navigate the spaces a little bit more clearly, I guess? And then two is like, how much time are you dedicating to all of this?
I think that again, my foundations in terms of teaching definitely come from completing a Bachelor of Education, and specifically in Pasifika primary teaching at AUT. So I would say that serves as a really great foundation for all of my understanding, and again, like all of those strengths that just come from my culture, to be honest. Like I think that we naturally are connectors, like we just are good at bringing people together. We are good at loving people. We are good at bringing out the best in people. So I think also credit to Samoa for that one, and again my nana. And I think that I'm doing a Ngangana Samoa certificate that I'll be finished in a few weeks, so that's been a year-long course at MIT in Aotearoa. So so that helps 100%, like of me just deepening my understanding of the language, but then also the people who I connect with at that course, they are just amazing role models for me too, because there's a lot of people who are much older than me who I look up to, and who they just seem to support everything I'm doing, and they also remind me that I'm on the right track. Like sometimes I am going, oh my gosh, like what am I doing? But they're like, no, you've got it, girl. Like stay the course, keep going. So they're amazing.
How much time do you actually put into your platforms?
I can't count the hours at this point. I think though I really am a multitasker, and I know people say that you can't, like, that you actually can't do that, that, you know, that usually it means that you're flicking your attention really quickly between many things, but that's how I actually operate best. Like, I really am someone who enjoys variety and really I don't know, I enjoy having a lot of different projects on the go, and because they interest me, it doesn't feel like a chore or anything. Like, I don't go, oh man, I have to go run a workshop. You know, I go, oh no, I'm so excited to meet these people, and again, I always walk away going, wow, I learned so much from that experience. And so I think just continuing to drop myself in the deep end, and again, like reflecting constantly, all of that helps. But I think, yeah, so I spend, in terms of the workshops, that's always tends to be in my weekends, and Moana Creative Business Networks are in the evening, and writing and all of that happens, I guess, like on my lunch breaks. So every spare minute.
So you have a 9 to 5, but then around that you're building, networking, connecting. That's what we do, fam. That's what we do.
I feel like it's actually just such a natural way of being. And again, like I've watched my aunties and my elders and like everyone, I've watched them do this my whole life. And I think, again, it is still really important to make sure that you are replenishing yourself and resting, and not always, I guess, like being run off your feet and feeling like your tank is empty, or that you're you don't have the capacity to do certain things. Like I think that is something to be wary of. But yeah, I think we serve, we connect, we draw our strength from loving people. So yeah.
And so you say that you do some writing during your lunch breaks. Do you have, I mean, you've got an office space there. Do you do a lot of artwork, or, I mean, do you do a lot of creative stuff in your office? Like, is that your writing space when you are at home, or what does your writing space look like besides lunch?
I think my process for writing is honestly, like, I think that creativity, if it's something that you want to do for life, or something that you want to deliver to an audience, something that you want to be your job one day, I think there is a level of it being a habit. So, like, you know, just earmark it, carving out time to do it every week, whether that's on a Saturday morning, which is usually like on my couch or something like that. But also the inspiration can come sporadically, and so often I will be pulling over on the side of the road because I've thought of something and I don't want to, or I don't want to lose the thought, if you know what I mean. Like, I'm like, oh gosh, like that was a really good idea, and then I, you know, and I also use voice notes a lot of the time.
I was gonna say voice memo. Come on, man.
Yeah, she's definitely like on the, oh my gosh, like someone would know the inner workings of my soul if they could unlock my phone and go into, because they're not all good. Like not every idea is like a great idea, but you know, you go back and listen to it and you're like, that's not it. But anyway, but yeah, so I would say that I try to, when it comes to stop, like, you know, whether that's outside my job or it's like when I'm at the gym or, you know, something, I will just pause to write down whatever that thought was. And then the habit or the discipline part of it comes when it's like once a week, you're going to go back and look at those things and you're going to develop them further. Yeah. So I would say that's my process for writing. And I'm in this office right now, but I can't lie, like it's probably more of a storage space. Like I think that there's piles of, like, you can't see it, but there's just piles of books on either side of me. And I think, yeah, generally I really like wide open spaces and light, like natural light. So I tend to actually like writing or painting or drawing or whatever, like either outside or in the biggest space in our house, which is like the lounge or yeah.
Okay, so you just talked about multitasking, and it's a thing. But then the importance of replenishing your cup. So let's talk about health and well-being, like self-care. What are some strategies, or what are some things that you like to do to replenish your cup and just turn off everything else that's going on?
I think that because there's always something to do, like, and you would know this, you know, you, as far as I can tell, are like a one-man band, right? Like, so you're organizing, she does the admin, she does the interviews, you do the editing, you do the social media, you know, there's always something that you could be doing, but that doesn't mean that you should, you know. And I think that just, I don't know, I have actually like a really bad habit of burning out, of taking on so much. I just didn't know better, you know. And like when I was at university, I was running a business then, like,
Wow.
and working many jobs and all of that kind of stuff, but where I would just say yes to everything. And if I had a spare moment, or if I had any energy left, I would expend all of it, if you know what I mean. Like, I felt like I couldn't stop, or I couldn't say no, because, oh, you know, like, you do actually have an hour here, or you are awake, so you could probably do, like, you know, I don't know, one more paragraph or something like that. Whereas I've learnt definitely in the last year that if I want this to be a long game and something I continue to do, I actually need to say no sometimes. I need to be intentional with my time and my energy. And as much as I would love to be everything for everyone, I actually just can't. So if I want to stay sane, and if I want to have time to cuddle my cat and hang out with my partner and see my family, like, if I want all of the things that make all this work worth it, then I have to kind of say, oh, I actually don't have space to take on that project this time, or oh, you know, I can't do the whole thing of what you've asked me, but I could do this much, you know. So making sure that I'm not using every last bit of energy and every last minute. And when I'm resting, I would say I'm still an active relaxer. So it's more just me putting my phone down, like, so going for a walk and saying I'm not contactable, like, you know, unfortunately, world, you can't have access to me right now, not for like 30 minutes or something, or just having a day with all my favorite people. And again, like, not doing any work, because I think, again, with phones, it's just so easy to be like at a dinner and then still do, I mean, you would know, like, still doing social media stuff. And I'm like, so boundaries.
Yeah, boundaries are important. I used to like check my email because I commute to work, and I used to like check my emails. And then, you know, like, some people don't schedule emails, so I'll be reading emails that people have sent late, and it's just like, it's just really stupid stuff, eh?
Yeah.
And then it ruins my morning, so I stopped doing that. So now I just listen to music or read a book, listen to an audiobook when I'm on the train. I do try and, like you say, like, gotta set those boundaries, because you know, if you don't. And like recently, I've just been like, if I need to sleep, go to sleep. I schedule a lot of things actually on social media. I'm sure you do this too.
As a recovering perfectionist, I think that a lot of it is also being okay with the fact that you cannot do everything at 100% all the time either. And, you know, even though you want every single thing you do to be exceptional, and there's always something you could do to make it even better, you know, with the limited time and energy that you have, it's like you have to work within those bounds as well, like, you know, and being realistic for me, like, I just have to be like, oh yeah, like, I could keep editing this piece for, you know, 2 more weeks, but like, would it help anyone by not being published or not being out? No, it wouldn't. Like, it wouldn't reach anyone. So I just have to be okay with the product that I can create while having many projects on the go, while having my own creative practice, while having a 9-to-5 job, like, you know. So I think, rather than holding yourself to these really just unattainable standards, I think, just going easy on yourself is quite important, but not something I'm good at all the time. I'm just trying to be better at it. And
I'm like, everything you are saying right now, Danielle, it resonates. I'm like, note to self, note to self, note to self. So, you've got this end of this week. There's the Matariki poetry workshop.
Yeah.
How exciting is that? Like, you get to work with young folks, young people. Are you? By the time this podcast comes out, you'd be doing the workshop. I mean, what can we look forward to more in the future? I mean, this is specifically Matariki poetry, but yeah.
Yeah, I think I'm so happy to be back in, I guess, some semblance of a classroom with kids. I just adore them, and they teach me so much. And again, they challenge me to be the best version of myself. Yeah, they're just amazing. So I don't know, I can't wait. I'm so excited, and I think Matariki is just a beautiful celebration as well, and another Indigenous sort of marker of time that teaches me a lot, that I learn a lot from. So I think that a lot of the time these workshops, it's like it really is a joint learning experience for myself and whoever comes along. So I'm really excited to see the group of tamariki and probably their families. Like it's not like school where I'm going to be like, yeah, drop them off and out you go. If the parents want to hang around, that would also be lovely. So going forward, what I've been working towards for quite a long time now, after hosting many workshops for adults, whether that's focused on creative writing or poetry, I kind of was like, I want to find a home for tagataatamai writing workshops, like a physical space that we can return to, and so that it's something predictable. Say like Moana Creative Business Network events, my aim is for them to be once every 2 to 3 months. And then I was like, I need to do something regular like that for the writing workshops, where it's, once a month you can meet a similar group of people, or, so we can sort of follow each other along, and we can build on what we did last time, and, all of those things. So going forward at Four Shells Cover Lounge, they've been kind enough to open up their space to me, or to us, once a month on a Saturday morning. And so those writers groups as well, there'll be, some of them could be themed workshops, but they'll also be more of a space for people to bring their writing into, to gather feedback, to share it with people if they want to, and to maybe get some guidance from me. So I would say more of that informal sharing and talanoa feedback setting, and that will be happening once a month. The first one of those will be happening in July, and then also at the very beginning of July, so that one will be at the end of July. At the very beginning of July, there'll be there's going to be a workshop at Haven in Avondale. So I Love Avondale and Manawaka Ao are going to sponsor that one. So again, trying to find a format that is accessible. So the writers groups, again, if we can find sponsors for lots of them, that would be amazing. And then they can be funded and free for everyone to come along. And then if not, they'll be, at a reasonable to low cost for people to come once a month. It's definitely, I think there is a challenge there when you're doing something that needs to make sure that you're not running at a loss, but you also are driven by community values. But I think we're getting really close to the formula, or to what's going to work for me and for my community going forward.
www.tagataatamai.co.nz. Follow Danielle Tagata on Instagram. Follow Moana Creative Business Network. You can find all the details there. If anyone's listening or watching, and you're watching this and you're like, hey, I'd love to get on board, perhaps help out with sponsorship. Support Danielle. I love what she's doing. I love what you're doing, sis. I think that too often there is a lot going on, and then there's a lot of gatekeeping and things going on, and we cheer for some, we're not cheering for others. I just think there's space, there is room for all of us, and I just think that it's important that we continue to uplift and uplift one another and share our stories, because if we are not sharing our stories, you know, like who are the people writing those narratives and putting them out there? So I absolutely love what you are doing. I've said this, I've been watching. That sounds stalkerish. I have been observing.
Don't worry. Like, I'm like, oh, what is she doing today? Like,
I have been supporting from afar, and then I was just like, oh my God, please say yes, please say yes. Oh my gosh, she said yes. So, you know, I am all for it. Like seeing you doing this, putting yourself out there. I love to support fellow educators, and even though you're not in that traditional classroom setting, but I truly see that what you're doing now is just you're in different spaces, different types of classrooms, and you're still sharing that knowledge, still sharing that love for people, and doing it with so much care. And I love to see it. And I just, you know, as we begin to wrap up the podcast, because, you know, this whole time we've been talking about 9 to 5, and I'm sitting here going, is Danielle going to be late for work because of this? So you know, as we begin to wrap up, sis, I just have to say thank you so much for coming through with your busy schedule and all, with your 9 to 5. I do appreciate you coming through to share your story. It's only a small part of your story, and I'm really excited to see how, you know, like you've been saying, what will it look like in a year's time, in 5 years' time? Ooh, serious. But, you know, like, keep going. Like, keep going. I don't know how I can support and help you. I will do my best. Reach out if there's anything I can do from here. I will try my best. But yeah, I love to see it. So this is about giving you your flowers, and I hope you know that you are appreciated, and I'm sure your village and your community love you for that. Don't forget to, you know, like you say, replenish your cup. Look out for number 1 first, so that you can turn up 200% for your people and for your community. So I'm going to hand it back to you just to share some final inspiration, some final words. Yeah, just to wrap up our show. Whawhataitele lava. Danny, appreciate you so much.
Kia ora. Thank you so much for having me. And I think that, yeah, what you're doing with again, like shouting out our people and the mahi that we're doing, I think that it's when we have our head down and we're just doing it, we often don't come up for air to go, oh yeah, that was actually really great, or, you know, to celebrate ourselves. And so I think, yeah, you giving me my flowers this morning, it just reinvigorates me. And I think being seen and valued by people within my community, it really does help, you know, because sometimes you're wondering, like, yeah, am I on the right track? Are people happy with how I'm going, even with, you know, with what knowledge I have and what experience I have right now? Is what I'm doing enough? And so, yeah, thank you for telling me that it is. I will keep going, because I just don't think I could stop now. And it truly, yeah, it's my privilege and my honor to do what I do. And again, all props to Nana and my family, because again, I just would not be able to do it. There's just no way. There's no way. She's the inspiration for everything, and she is where all of that mana comes from. So yeah, whawhataitele lava. I really hope to collaborate and see you more. Like, again, like, it's just so nice to talk to you properly. And yeah, anything with your mahi as well. Like, I'm just happy to support however I can. And yeah, thank you. Just thank you for everything that you're doing as well.